Hello, you're listening to Mike Madden on the Art Show podcast. Here you will find interviews with authors, musicians, artists and anyone else in and around the arts. Some of the interviews are taken direct from the Art Show on Expat Radio, with one or two specials in between. This show features Andrew Fredrick talking about the Black Watch and their 17th album, Brilliant Failures. Hello, this is Mike Madden on the Art Show on Expat Radio, and tonight we've got a returning guest. Now, when we last spoke, it was June last year when this guy came on the show, and one of the straplines that he came along with was 31 years of obscurity. Now, I think we're now up to 32 years, but hopefully not as obscure. So welcome back to the show, Andrew Fredrick of The Black Watch.
Thank you very much, Mike. I suppose I should brace myself for the sort of jest that you just made about, 31 years now and counting.
How's it going with obscurity?
That title wasn't my idea. It was the record label's actually. To call the compilation that came out last year and that you so kindly, promoted on your show, 31 Years of Obscurity. But I didn't forecast somehow or anticipate that we might be setting ourselves up for future reviews where there were 32 years and 33 and on and on.
No, I think you can come out of obscurity now.
Okay, thank you very much.
And certainly for those of you who've not heard the Black Watch, shame on you for two reasons. One, because obviously they were on this show last year. And secondly, this Brilliant Futures that we're going to talk about is your 17th album, which is a huge output.
Brilliant Failures. Although that's a nice little Freudian slip, perhaps, that, that's the sanguine look at it rather than being failures, they're futures. But, if you start talking in financial terms, then we're going to have a bit of a tussle because that's a ticklish issue because, gosh, we would certainly like to be, more handsomely remunerated than we have before. But we're lucky to continue to be able to put out records, whether they're called, well, maybe I'll just call the next one Brilliant Futures after Brilliant Failures. I've got to get a notepad here, Mike, to take down some ideas. You're a marketer at heart, somehow, whether you knew it or not.
Well, given what you just said, I won't ask for any royalties.
Okay, all right, that's good because they're scant at best.
So let's just be clear. We are talking about the Black Watch and Brilliant Failures, 17th album. And previous to other albums, you've kept your faithful band of musicians and producers with you, Scott Campbell, Rob Campanella and Andy Crichton. But with this one, you've got the idea of letting them sort of take the lead and control the music. What was behind that decision?
In part, faith and trust, and from another angle, I suppose it was because I can, for all my output, be considered something of a musical layabout. That I thought it might be easier both on the pocketbook, on the budgets. We get limited budgets that are sort of kindly supplemented by well-wishing fans and serendipities of some sorts. I got a royalty check for $700 out of the blue, and these sort of serendipitous fundings just seem to come. Luckily enough, it's never so very much, but those are actually Rob Campanella and Andy Crichton and Scott Campbell, with the exception of Andy Crichton. Campanella and Campbell are producers who've worked with the band who are also musicians. So the band, save Andy Crichton, the other guitar player, didn't play on this record. I did all the instruments and singing with producers and one band member this time, simply because I thought it might be more expedient for us to just go into the studio and play and record rather than flogging away at the songs in a rehearsal space, which we have to pay for, which is, high caliber real estate here in Los Angeles, as it is in any major city. I know my friends in London bands pay, pretty penny to be able just to rehearse, which is a great shame. One of the great things about being a band from a megatropolis like Los Angeles or London is that, you have a great music community but at the same time, it's not easy. Or in New York is another example. It's not easy to be a band. So I thought, let's cut out the rehearsal process, and under the pressure of going, this is the red light is on, we're recording. Let's just see what we come up with in a very spontaneous fashion. So I think it scared the dickens out of everybody on some levels, but they're all such pros. I guess I can consider myself, at this stage that as well, that it sort of, created a real excitement that I hope gets conveyed in the tracks themselves. As though it was planned, and really it was very, very much a spontaneous Hail Mary of a sort of an approach.
Well, it seems to have worked, because critically speaking, this could be described as the Black Watch's best album in years. Or is that just the record company saying that? What's your view?
Well, my view is to be looked at from a dubious angle, in the sense that, like most artists, one's most recent production is often one's most favorite, or the one they're most proud of, simply by virtue of the fact that it's a newborn, as it were. So it's really hard for me to gauge. The record label, A Turntable Friend, who are based in Germany and who spend a lot of time in Liverpool as well. The head of the label, Ulrich, spends a lot of time in England, and all the other bands on the label are UK bands, which I'm very, very chuffed to have that, be part of that family stable, etc. I'm not sure. I like it a lot, and it's not for me to decide, really. We're hot on the trail of pursuing the next one already. Actually, we finished 4 new songs just this last month, so I'm all about not looking back.
So if you could take yourself back 7 or 8 months from when you released your previous album, what shaped this album over that period of time? Was it a particular inspiration, or is it just got to get some songs out?
Well, I met somebody who inspired me greatly, who I found very enchanting, who actually sings on the record. I got a woman called Julie Schulte, who's does the vocals on a song called Julie that I wrote about her, and my getting to know her occasioned a number of quite over the top, romantic, lovely songs, as well as some contemplative ones, and some melancholy ones too. So that in part changed, and I always think that each record, just like each song that comes along, is a reaction against the last one. I don't know precisely how that works out, but every record that I write just seems to answer the one that came before it. So if Magic Johnson was more of a I don't know, a band effort, this seems more like a solo kind of venture with great legs up by some really good musicians who've also paradoxically were able to put their stamp all over it. So it's kind of a mishmash, and some of it's quite live, and other of it's sort of built up and constructed in the studio. So this is a long-winded, roundabout way, Mike, of saying I have no idea what I'm talking about. I think in some ways, I don't know. I did an interview yesterday where what eventuated from that was I think I'm fine having what Keats called a sort of negative ability, an ability not to be in the know, to remain in a mist or a mystery about things. And if I think, my being terribly overly, loquacious about this here and now suggests that talking about it is just talking around it. I don't have a real understanding exactly of what we do, and I'm not the best person to ask, even though you just got a 10-minute long answer from me there.
Well, let's let the listeners decide. So
yeah.
We're going to dip into the album now, and this track is called Technology.
You're listening to Expat Radio, beaming out across France and around the world.
Hello, this is Mike Madden on the Art Show on Expat Radio, and that was Technology by the Black Watch. And tonight we're talking to founder member of the Black Watch and iconic songwriter, singer, and everything else in between. So welcome back to the show, John Fredrick.
Thank you very much, Mike. Pleasure to talk to you. As I can say, once again, us having done this before.
Once again. And anybody who didn't hear the original interview and wants to take in the 16th album can go to our podcast and find it there. So, someone who's never heard the band, there's various people who've said it's difficult to categorise what kind of music you play. If you had to pick a genre or perhaps one song that epitomises the band, what would it be?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. You're a tricky one, Mike Madden. It seems that you ask these questions that occasion really, really glib, impossible answers, or ones that take up the entirety of the cast. But I would say the best description doesn't come from me. It comes from a filmmaker friend of mine named Carrie Harris, who recently told me, I asked him if I could trademark that, footnote him. He said, "You guys sound like every band I've ever made up in my head." And, he likes things like New Order and The Wedding Present and The Cure and My Bloody Valentine and the Pink Floyd. And I thought, that's better than in the entirety of my tenure as a songwriter and, releaser of records. That's the best description I've ever come across, and also the most flattering to think of people who might have some sort of musical ability and work as artists in other genres and know their Beatles and their Stones and their Velvet Undergrounds to have said, you sound like the band I wish I could make up, an amalgamation of those things. And I think we go to such lengths to try to mask, perhaps not always successfully, which is okay. That's the way it goes. Those influences, those shadows, those anxieties of influence, if you want to put it in a literary context of, those things that you worship and then, want to kill your idols over. But I think, if you like guitar pop and, again, a sort of amalgamation of lots of greats and some obscure ones, I'd have to throw in a lot of the New Zealand bands on Flying Nun as being great inspirations, that again are things that also you want to sort of cloak or try to cloak.
There's probably no greater praise than somebody comparing you to every band that they've ever listened to.
I'll tell you, Mike, I carried that around with me for a couple days. I failed to be depressed about anything at all. That was really a very kind thing of Carrie to have said.
And you've already said that you're 4 songs into your next album. Are you on a treadmill now, or is it just it'll be out when it's out?
I'm not sure. There's talk. The one thing that we've not done yet is put out a 10-inch little piece of vinyl. As a vinyl junkie myself, not quite as maniacal as some of my friends. I don't know whether you collect vinyl or you like to listen to CDs, things, or you're a modern chap who has it all in a digital format. I still greatly prize holding an artifact, and we're hoping that we'll be able to, with the 4 songs that we've just finished. One of the labels that we work with is very, very excited about it. The American label that we have been working with is terribly excited about it. And one song in particular, we feel as though we have a sort of a dance hit with a song called "The Nothing That Is," which of course I'll send you when it's done or out, and no matter what format it is. But we've got a song that's sort of the people who've heard it, the inner circle of people who aren't in the band but know us very well and we're good friends with, have said, "Gosh, this is so wonderfully different from what the Black Watch has done." And then a number of them have added, I love it. This is my favorite thing that you've ever done," which is, of course, a double-edged sword, almost left-handed compliment, because to say, I like this the most of anything I've heard yet, and it's way different from what you do, smacks of thinking like, gosh, well, maybe you didn't love our past master history or what have you. So I don't know. It's nice that people like, and for any artist will tell you that sort of praise from peers, praise from people like you, of course, who are in the know, who've done their research, who know indie music really well. If they're discerning, adults, consenting adults in the musical sense, right? Consenting adults. When they give you something, it's like that. It's not. They've really given you a gift. It's something to be cherished and to just not to denigrate or say, oh, you're just saying that or whatever. I've quite learned to just go, thank you so very much. You didn't have to say that. You've gone out of your way to pay us a compliment. And I really do think, us in not just the sense of the royal we, because I've got a kingly complex or what have you, but it really is a band effort, between Rob and myself and Scott Campbell and Andy Creighton. So, the credit goes to everybody. I didn't just all do this, at all on my own, even though I'm the principal writer or sole writer, really. Where are you calling? And you told me last time it's somewhere up north, right?
Yeah, last time I was in the High Peak. I was at home in the Peak District near Buxton.
Okay, well, I was just in the Peak District last year, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, my son and I went over to visit our English friends from London, 4 of them, and we all went, on rambles around the lakes, and it was just so charming and wonderful. I just didn't want to leave, even though, it was spring. We didn't have the greatest weather throughout, but the days, I think we were there 5 days. Maybe 3 of them were sunny, so it was really great. I loved it. Had been one of my goals, and all the time I spent in England, I'd never been to the Peak District or to the Lake District, so we had a great time.
Well, the village I'm from, probably a month or so after I spoke to you, almost got destroyed by a dam that almost broke.
Here.
It was on international news.
Oh no.
Yeah, but it's all safe now. So we were talking about your potential 10-inch vinyl, and I think we lost something when vinyl disappeared, even though it's coming back now. And even CDs didn't fill it, because vinyl it's tangible, but also it's quite sizable, and you get the opportunity to create a fantastic album cover with maybe lyrics on it, or pictures, images, paintings, whatever. And I noticed that the album cover, if you can call it that, for Brilliant Failures is some very interesting abstract art. So where did that come from?
It came from me. I think we're very pleased that Brilliant Failures is coming out on vinyl. It's been since 2/13, the End of When record on Pop Culture Press out of Austin, Texas, that we've had vinyl. So the fact that Ulrich's label is called a Turntable Friend, that indicates that he's got a great love for wax, and so we're super pleased that it's going to come out as a 12-inch record. But that's one of my paintings. I've painted for about 12 years, 10 years or so, as a result of having gotten D+ put on the paintings I did as a kid in art class by the nuns at the mission in Santa Barbara, where I took art lessons. So on each one of my paintings, I put a D+ in honor of those nuns. But yeah, that's all. I can't draw really. I'm just fascinated by still to this day by abstract art. My favorites, are Cy Twombly or Jackson Pollock, and I don't claim to be breaking any new ground with it. I just do it because I love art, and it's something that one can do. But that's Ulrich really liked that painting, so he said let's use that. And it's messy and chaotic and colorful and emotive and splotchy, just like the record is. So you can consider it a kind of a trope for it. And that's not the first time I've had my own artwork on on the records, a record called Tatterdemalion from 2008. There was a painting of mine, and we've done various singles with it and stuff. So, I mean, it's just, and then again, back to that reaction against the last one. The next one surely won't have one of my, what do I even call them? one of my artworks.
Well, maybe the next one should have one of your artworks, and it should have an A+ on it or something like
Perhaps that. There you go. I'll shift it up like that. That would seem a little self-congratulatory, but if you liked it, I'm glad. That's great. It does seem to capture the mood of the record, which is, quite colorful. Colorful is the best term for it, and a bit chaotic.
Yeah, I think as well from a marketing point of view, which I absolutely know nothing about, but it's eye-catching. So if people are looking down a list,
yeah, well, I hope so. Better than having us squirm through a terribly uncomfortable photo session. We don't enjoy those at all.
So, we've talked about all kinds of things here. Not all of them about Brilliant Failures. It has to be said. But in the last few minutes, can you just tell our listeners once again where they can find out more about the Black Watch, and particularly Brilliant Failures?
Sure, of course. My pleasure, Mike, and thanks a lot for your time and for having a chat this morning here, our morning, your evening. You can find the record by going to Bandcamp, A Turntable Friend Records, or a turntablefriendrecords.com, and it'll be distributed by Southern Records Distribution, who are based in London. So it'll be in the shops as well. You can ask for it there. But I think your best bet is to go to the label's website, always to support the label, especially in today's climate, rather than things like Amazon or Spotify. But it'll be up on those places as well. But I think a turntablefriendrecords.com is the best place to find Brilliant Failures, and find it, one hopes, something there to your liking. So there you go.
From what I remember from last time we spoke, you've got a rather interesting website.
Yeah, I mean, the music won't be up on my website, because that's mostly just about chronicling things from the band and my novels and the aforementioned paintings. But that's still very going. A former bandmate of mine, Janet Jacoby remarked not too long ago, she said, a website? You've got a website? How very 90s of you. So I thought that was kind of amusing.
It's been absolutely fantastic talking to you as ever, John, and I look forward to you coming back on for album number 18.
Okay, that sounds great, Mike. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a pleasure on my end as well.
Yeah, and we're hoping by then that 32 years will have dwindled to nothing, and you will be
Thank you.
household name.
Here's a chance to be a fine thing on that one. Yes, indeed.
Brilliant to speak to you as ever, John. We're going to play out with the title track of your 17th album. This is The Black Watch and Brilliant Failures.
us all to contemplate. It's not a bad thing, don't forget it. There's beauty in one's each defeat. Without it, life seems incomplete. Those brilliant failures, all you've ever only known are brilliant failures. All you've ever only known are brilliant failures.
You've been listening to the Arts Show podcast with Mike Madden. Come back soon for more artists, authors, musicians and anyone else connected with the arts. We're going to play out with Mike Sanchez and I Don't Stand a Chance.
Baby, you hiding something that you don't want me to know, because I'm getting a vibe from way down the side, like you're just about ready to go. Can't tell me where you stayed last night. You just can't cope with treating me right. I'm on the road to heartbreak. Now's the time to tell me so, because I'm getting a chill like I'm gonna be ill. I know you don't want me no more. I won't be satisfied with your little white lies. Girl, I've only just begun to realize I don't stand a chance. I don't stand a chance. You don't wanna know when I can't make you dance. Well, I said goodbye. Find yourself another guy. I wish you were mine, but I'm losing my mind. I don't stand a chance. This man, am I on the road to heartbreak? Now's the time to tell me so, because I'm getting a chill like I'm gonna be ill. I know you don't want me no more. I won't be satisfied with your little white lies. Girl, I've only just begun to realize I don't stand a chance. No, I don't stand a chance. You don't wanna know when I can't make you dance. Well, I'll say goodbye. Find yourself another guy. I wish you were mine, but I'm losing my mind. I don't stand a chance.